Much for your hospitality. It's been wonderful the short time that we've spent with you. You've got to know the team and know that there's a whole bunch of others behind you at Amway Canada to help you and to support you. So we'll wish you continued success. Thank you profusely for everything that you're doing. And I'm going to talk today, before I do it, let me just say this. I, like you, that's all of us, I love the Amway business. And the reason I love the Amway business is because it's a business for everybody. Right? It doesn't matter where you came from, what kind of money you've made, what kind of education you have. It is a business for everybody. But today, I'm going to talk about women in particular. No offense, guys. Okay? No offense. I'm going to talk about women, but as I'm talking about women, you'll be able to take some snippets about it that you can apply to, that you can apply to the Canadian society at large. And the reason I chose women is because, you know, at the end of the day, we feel like we are the heart. We are the heart of Canada. We are the heart of our society. We are the heart of our business. We are the heart of our industry. And regardless of whether you're single or not, you had a mom, and she was your country, right? So, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but anyway, just know that in direct selling in Canada alone, there are 900,000 people building the business, you know, direct selling business, and 91% of them are women. I bet you didn't know that. So you're going to find out a few little things. And we're going to go through the history of the typical Canadian women, and we can change the screen. And we're going to start, once again, and we're going to start with the 1940s in Canada. Wow, the woman of the 1940s had such a future. It was so predetermined for her, okay? She knew exactly what she was going to do. She was going to get married, have children, raise the children, cook, clean, do whatever needs to be done in the house. Nothing wrong with that. But she already knew she had a predetermined life. She knew she didn't have very much choice. If she got lucky, she could prepare dinner for her husband's mom. That was a highlight. So in the 1940s, it was a really an odd period of time that way, and direct selling, you know, was progressing, and it was progressing in a way that it was like door to door, you know what I mean? Okay? And you would see things like perfume and books and household cleaning products. That's what the industry was like in the 40s. But the 40s, as you can see, the 40s was also a very interesting time in Canada because the men went to war. And then, in that period of time, women had to go to work. They had to go to the parachute factories, they had to go to the munitions factories, and they realized that there was something different out there, that maybe there was a choice. So the choice thing is really important as we go through this. And so they would go to the factories and they would come home and they'd put their aprons back on, and then the next day they'd go back to the factory, and then this went on. And then the war ended, and then the men came home, and then the government said, okay, ladies, time to go back. Well, then the ladies said, well, you know what? I'm not sure I really want to do what you're suggesting I do, and that is to go back. I have an opportunity now to develop a career, or to make some extra money for myself. So there was a certain kind of awakening that went on in the woman's mind in the 40s. So we moved into the 50s. And in the 50s, while we weren't encouraged as women to follow an education, get a college education or a university education, we were encouraged to choose careers. So there's some choices for growing here. We could become a nurse, a teacher, an airline stewardess, a secretary, or what have you. And we realized that we weren't making as much money as the men were making, and that was okay, but we had a choice. We had a choice to take a career, to stay home, to start an Amway business, to do whatever we wanted, or a combination thereof. And that is what was special about the 50s. And it was also a period which was very, very prosperous. And you would see in direct selling that that the door was starting to wane a little bit. It was starting to, slow down a little bit. Direct selling in the 50s became about showing a plan. It was about doing product demonstrations. It was about going home. It was about the socialization that is still important right now for Gen Y. And it was, when you think about it, in 1958, think about it, that Amway was born. And Rich and Jay Van Andel and Rich DeVos, we talk about them like they're family, because they are. We love the business that much. But, in a little garage, in a little town called Ada, Michigan, with one little product in 1958, today, 50 years later, have an $11 billion. It's just an incredible story. It was a very, very positive time in the 50s, and then came the 60s as over. You know what I'm saying? The 1950s came, and it was, and people would say, well, it was the period of women's liberation, and it was a time of transition, confusion, change, but it was an opportunity of time for social changes. Can you imagine, ladies? And these ladies in the 50s set the precedent for the generations to come. And in fact, it was 50 years ago, October 9th, 1962, that Amway began in Canada. And we are in our 50th year this year, and this business continues to be as relevant today as it was in 1962. It stands, it stands time. It's modern, it's innovative still, regardless of who you are, what you do, race, color, creed, whatever, age, education. So I'm excited about the fact that this business is as relevant as it is today, and I hope you are too. And so then comes the 70s. 70s. That's an interesting period. Women at that period in time, and men too. We want to know. We have all the choices in the world. The 70s set the precedent for what we're living today. Okay? It is a time when women want the same rights as men. It is a time when we want a career. It is a time when we want an education. It is a time when we want a family. It is a time when we want a big house in the suburbs. It is the time when we want it all. And we're not sure, now as we reflect back on it, I'm not going to get philosophical about it, that it was actually the best thing to want it all. Because it was also the period of the supermom. And that symptom, and Persona and I were talking about it earlier, that symptom of that supermom is with us still today, right? So we're not going to talk about the 80s, 90s, and the year 2000. Whatever the foundation that was built in the 70s lingers with us today, okay? And what's interesting is, in all of that, regardless of all of that, it is a period we have choices. We have an awful lot of choices. And women contribute to Canadian society like no other time before. We have, in Parliament, we have 25% women. Oh, I think we can change. I'm sorry about that. I'm losing it. Okay. And do you know that the average woman will live to the age, threshold age of 83 in Canada? This is an important factor. Yes. 36% of women are managers in Canada. We take our time to get married now. We now get married at the ripe old age of 27. Okay, this is us all you single guys. We represent 47% of the workforce. And we have as many opportunities, we have more opportunities today than ever to act on alternatives and our choices and to make our own choices. We live in a country, and I don't have to, we live in a country that is one of the best places in the world to live in. We are guaranteed a good lifespan. Apparently women are going to live for 83. We have a good quality of life, and we have respect for human development in this country. And so it is one of the top 3 places in the world to live, Canada. There is an issue, and I'm not trying to be depressive here, I'm just trying to be honest, okay? But there is an issue. The woman of today, and we can probably all attest to it, most of us here, is the most burdened woman of all generations. The most taxed, the most stressed out. You want to know why? If she's doing it all, right? She's taking care of family, taking care of her husband, taking care of her parents, taking care of the house, worrying about the budget, worrying about the groceries, worrying about the pension, worrying about not having enough free time, working, and that is what we as women obsess with. But I'm going to tell you, we have the opportunity to deal with it. And Jeff touched upon it when he was talking about Gen Y. They see Gen Y. You guys have seen what your mom and your dad and have done. And you realize that you have a choice. Gen Y realizes that they have a choice, and they're going to act on it, and they're going to take this business and going to run with it like a business. It's an opportunity. It's a career. Anyway, we'll move on. Just know that Canadian women represent 50.4% of the population, and I'm not telling you to move these things, am I? Too far going. Sorry about that. Oh, no, it's not. Back to the Canadian fight about the multicultural. Yes. And one of the greatest opportunities is represented in immigration to Canada. We are a country of immigrants. 300,000 immigrants come to Canada every year. So there is, I know I don't have to tell you all this, but it's a very important factor in our society, and it is a very important factor in our Amway business as well. But before I get to all of that, I'm going to talk to you about a few more stats. And look, this is the modern mom. We can go there now. That's great. This is the modern mom of today. Little children at the breakfast table. Kids are there though, but she's choosing that. That's the important thing. She's choosing to do her business at the picnic table. Wow. You see the relationship there? Yeah. We didn't, most women have not had that choice. We've been stuck in a conventional role. But with an Amway business, you have the flexibility to build that business the way you want on your terms. I'm going to tell you about women for today. These stats are really clever. The average woman in Canada today, from a JOB, earns an average of $45,000. A man will earn $63,000. So we have, a little bit of difference to make up. We earn about 71.3% of what men earn. That difference is what drives the entrepreneurial spirit of the woman. You understand? So, also the woman, as Jeff said earlier, the Canadian woman, is that much more better educated than in the past. As a matter of fact, in 2008, 60% of the degrees that were handed out from Canadian universities were handed out to women. Okay? Now here is another stat. 35.5% of women work from home. Okay? Women have an entrepreneurial spirit. And they choose to work. Okay? In 2009, 800,000 women had their own business. You see where the opportunity, there's some opportunities there, ladies and gentlemen? And women recognize the advantages of small business at a rate 60% faster than men. Okay? So in the end, where is she, today's woman? Regardless of who she is, where she comes from, age, what have you. She's open. She's open to choices. She chooses to work for herself. Okay? She has the spirit of an entrepreneur. She's willing to work hard, but she's going to do it on her own terms. Okay? This is not an economic requirement for this woman. She's not necessarily looking for money. She is looking for freedom, for flexibility to do what she wants to do, when she chooses, however she chooses it, whether it's full or part-time. That's it. Okay? From an Amway perspective, know that 72% of the Amway businesses have women. So, in them. So what are we going to do? Who are we going to target? Moving this business forward for the next 50 years, okay? Who are we going to target? We're going to target 3 specific women, okay? We're going to target the new arrivals, people who come to this country because Canada has something to offer them. I know a little bit about that. My parents immigrated to this country. I am the product of what this country is made of, and darn proud of it as well. You know, largely, but not isolated to, it's an economic thing and a social thing as well for this woman, okay? The Amway business represents an opportunity to succeed economically, and know that 30% of our business here in Canada today comes from a diverse background based in immigration, okay? And we are very proud of that. And I think it's, I have to sum it up, I wanted to share with you a quote that really reiterates the immigrant experience that I have lived, and I know that many of you have lived as well. And I'd like to say that I'm going to quote the mayor of Calgary, and I don't know if you know, but he lost his father on Father's Day. Yeah, and he said, and he quotes, in many ways, he's talking about his dad. He said, his life was ordinary. Struggle, sacrifice, giving back to the community, building an amazing future for his family. And I think that really sums up the Canadian immigration experience. And I think it's not ordinary, I think it's extraordinary. So, let's just keep those words in mind when those moments come, and they always come, that are tough. When you come to a new country, and I'll tell you, I remember my dad when I was a little girl having to go, north of the James Bay to make sure that there was enough, food on the table. So I think that kind of living is extraordinary, and there's a lot of bright future with new immigrants, and they can be all walks of women, right? They can be. I'm going to tell you a couple more. It transcends all generations of free immigration. And also we need to focus on the woman who's under 30, and just touched on that. The woman of under 30 is the woman who's going to carry this business forward for the next 50 years, and the man under 30 as well. Gen Y, you are going to carry this business forward. And what you need to understand about Gen Y is that they're the most educated youth that we have. Again, they choose the Amway opportunity as a career. They are looking at it as a return on investment. And the investment is not high. Right? They're looking at the business from a social perspective, from an economic perspective. I think I'm just reiterating what Jeff said, but they're bright, they're confident. They're the modern Canadian woman. So when you're showing them the plan, you need not, elaborate too much. They get it. And once they get it, they run with it. They get it. Product has to be. TV generates product. It's very systematic, it's very methodological, and they follow a certain methodology, and they're going to stick to it. And they're going to get their ROI, and they're going to get their PD, and they're going to get their fast track. And then they're going to show all the time how to do that. Where do they use the medium to not? Usually, and I heard it today, where do they? Right? The Gen Y woman and Gen Y man isn't that different, is it? But you target that for the future. Now let's talk about the 55 plus woman. Let me paint a picture. Canadian woman, maybe work for the government, got a pension, 55. Live another 30 years. She is. That's what the guy says. She's going to live another 30 years. So what's she going to do with her spare time? The Amway opportunity speaks to her. Oh, you Gen Y, go get the mom. She wants to supplement her income. She wants to socialize. She wants to get out. You know what I mean? She wants to leave a legacy to her family.
So you've got three really distinct women, right, available to you. And then when I say women, you can see how it transcends the men as well, and they have choices. So, we can move on to the next thing. I think building the business in 2012 is a very exciting time for these women, for the 55 plus, for the new arrivals, for the Gen Y. You know, the one thing that these are the four things that they're looking for in our business, and this is what they're going to get. They're going to get their own business at a reasonable price. Agreed? Yes? Okay. She's going to have the choice to build this thing or she wants, for whatever reason she wants. Right? She's got security with this business. She's got financial, economic, and social security. And then do it. You buy it, kid. You don't like it, send it back. We're not, nobody's forcing you here. You know? So it's very simple. Four small points, right? Business, choice, security, and opportunity. Business, choice, security, and opportunity. And I'm going to add a fifth one, and that's connectivity, because we're all connected. Right? We all share. There's something in common. So, and move on to my last slide, and I'm just going to say this. We have a great, great opportunity. Our business has been in Canada for 50 years. It's still relevant. It's still innovative. It still speaks to people. We are going to continue for the next 50 years to help Canadians live a better life. Wow. And I wish you all success in doing that. Thank you.